Hi, I'm Dan. I like to fix things. My friend Jay even got me a shirt that says, I fix stuff. So today we're going to do a little video about a leaking toilet. There's 3 different places that the toilet can leak. This toilet's leaking from the wax ring. It's a garage apartment. Down in the garage, Jay observed that there was water coming from a pipe down there, and we determined that the only thing that could do that would be the wax ring. So Jay bought a wax ring, and I came over and gave him a hand, and between the two of us, we took this. We're going to take this toilet off, replace the wax ring, put it back together. We'll show you how it's done. If this happens to you, you can do this yourself. It's not an easy job. It's physically demanding because you have to lift the toilet off, and then when you put it back on, you have to precisely align it over 2 bolts that are wiggly and sticking up. So it's not the easiest job, but it's better to have 2 people. So if you have 2 people who are pretty strong, you can get this job done, save yourself a lot of money. And he's got a leak. He's going to go ahead and flush the toilet any second now. And there comes the leak. He's got a significant leak, which indicates that his wax ring is bad under his toilet. So we're going to fix that. First thing we're going to do is remove the toilet lid. And we need to get this toilet empty. And to begin that, we need to make sure that the shutoff valve is working. Shutoff valves coming up out of the floor. Usually they come up through a wall, and that stops the flow of water into the toilet. So now, I'm going to flush the toilet. We can get rid of most of the water.
Need a sponge?
And we don't see any water coming in, which means the shutoff valve is working. Now we can take the hose off. A sponge would be great, yes. So we'll use an adjustable wrench. It's good to have multiple sizes of these. The small wrench is big enough for the job and small enough to get at the tight places. Let's see. Jay, do we have a small container to catch some water? Because I can let it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, yeah, thank you. Now the hose is removed, and there's no water coming out of the shutoff valve. So the next step is to remove the bolts on both sides that secure the toilet to the floor.
Thinking that should be pretty easy.
Again, a small adjustable wrench does the job well. Remove the nut and the washers. Doing the same thing on the other side. Now the toilet bowl is empty. We've taken off the nuts that hold the toilet to the floor. We've taken off the hose that was supplying the water, and the shutoff valve is working. I put some paper towels down in the shower floor so we don't get wax on that floor. And we have to lift the toilet straight up and move it straight over. Now the fun part. This is the old wax ring. Because the toilet was not secured enough to the floor, it wiggled around. When it wiggled, it destroyed the wax ring and allows it to leak. So now we've got to clean all that up. Let's get a scraper, which will provide us with a place to put the old wax ring. And that's what's left of the rubber ring that goes with the wax ring. And we're not going to show you the whole thing, but it's time to clean up the old wax. We have scraped off the old wax and we're ready to install a new wax ring. There's the stuff that we took out. And then we also had to tilt the toilet back, since this is not a new install, but a used one. We had to tip the toilet back and scrape all of this wax off the bottom of the toilet. That doesn't necessarily have to get it squeaky clean, because it's going to get covered right up with wax again. But now we'll put the bolts in and we'll be ready to. Toilets are secured to the floor by brass bolts. We're going to reuse the old ones because they've already been cut to the appropriate length, and we won't have to do that. The bolts, you turn the bolt sideways, you put them in the slot, and these plastic rings keep it from falling. While you're putting the toilet back on, which is really the hardest part, is getting these nice and precisely lined up. So we're going to put them right at the center of the toilet. We're going to line them up with the center of the hole. Comes with a plastic cover on it. The rubber ring in the bottom, like the one we took out. Wax ring on the top. Put this in the hole and center it. When we lower the toilet over the bolts, the wax ring should will smush down and take up all the space between the toilet and the support ring below. We should have a leak-proof toilet when we're finished. And then we need the wax ring. Okay. While we're here, we'll do a little cleanup. This is never an easier time. This is also the easiest time to put some Teflon tape on our connection, because we don't want leaks anyplace. And wrapping connectors with Teflon tape is one of the surest ways to avoid leaks. And make sure not to get it over the top so that we don't hinder the water flow. Now when we put that back together, we have a nice watertight seal. So, our next trick
This is an important one.
is to lower this over the bolts, and Jay's going to watch me when I do this and help me line them up. Helps to have a second person to line these bolts up. We really only get one chance to do this because You saw what happened when you move a toilet bowl around after it's set. It messes up the wax ring. And you do what you need to do.
Okay, bring it down. Down, 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 down.
Okay, it's sticking through?
Yep.
Okay, just like that. There we go. And now we're tightening the nuts that hold the toilet down. But you want them to be tight, but not too tight, because this is a porcelain toilet and it can break. So you have to make them nice and snug, but don't go He-Man on them, or you'll wind up with a broken toilet. The white pad underneath holds the cap, so you want it to be centered. Now we're going to reinstall the supply line. This supply line's fairly new per the owner. If it wasn't new, we'd be replacing it, because I like to replace mine about every 5 years, because if you're not home, even if you are home, if this supply line breaks, that's a big problem. And I get a wrench. Right there. So again, we're using a short adjustable wrench, good for getting back into small spaces, big enough for the job. Now, turn the water supply back on. First place to check for leaks is right here. Not be any, but it's nice and dry. Okay, you just flush the toilet again. That's 2 flushes and not 1 drop of water. So we can get rid of the bucket now. When you do a toilet, it's a good idea to caulk around it. I never caulk all the way around it. First of all, it's pretty hard to do. But if the wax ring ever starts leaking, it's good if it leaks out around the toilet and you can see, because usually the leak starts as a slow leak. It's good to be able to see the water come out and know you have a problem before, otherwise it can leak for years and destroy whatever's under, the flooring underneath the toilet. But we're going to do the front half of the toilet at least. That's going to help keep the toilet from moving. The reason this wax ring failed, the bolts weren't tight enough, the toilet wasn't caulked, and over time, this toilet got twisted back and forth. That destroyed the watertight integrity of the wax ring. So we're going to fix that. What I'm going to do that with, I'm going to use a Ryobi power caulking gun. It has variable speed, so you can determine how fast the caulk comes out. And the other nice thing about it, if you've done much caulking, you notice that after you use the gun, if you don't back the pressure off of it, caulk keeps coming out the end. That's annoying and messy. So this has an automatic pullback feature. As soon as you take your finger off the trigger, and the trigger is not variable speed. The variable speed comes from this dial with numbers 1 through 6 on it. The trigger is just an on and off button. As soon as you back off the button, it pulls back a little bit and you don't get caulk coming out the end. So we're going to get this party started. by pulling the button until caulk comes out. We're going to use a lot of paper towels here. Now we're going to get in here and caulk. Now, having a caulk along the bottom not only makes it look nicer, but it helps prevent the toilet from moving around and wrecking the wax ring, which is what happened last time. So that wraps up the job, and we're done.